Liverpool have signed Alexis Mac Allister, the World Cup winning midfielder from Brighton, and he's going to solve all of their problems, isn't he? Because he's very good. Well, he is very good, but what if I told you that he's not going to solve all their problems because they have numerous issues on the pitch in Jurgen Klopp's new tactical system? So I want to tell you about what that is, where he fits into it, and what sort of player he is. Well, let's start with what sort of player he is. Now, Mac Allister obviously is a midfielder. He can play as a 6, an 8 or a 10. He says he prefers to play more as a 10 up the pitch on the left kind of side of the pitch. And this is what he looks like according to FB Ref. You know, he's kind of decent. There's all these sorts of things here. You can see all this here, successful take-ons and progressive carries. He's solid. He's a solid sort of player. But the real thing that Mac Allister brings you in midfield is control, because he doesn't lose the ball. This is his real special skill. Now, this is a chart with players who've had over 2,000 touches in the Premier League last season. That's quite a lot. You have to play a lot of games to do that, and you have to be very good to get that. And he's in good company. But what you'll see is Mac Allister's turnover rate is incredibly good. He doesn't give the ball away ever. Now, the only players above him are players like Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Pierre Højbjerg, Caicedo, his teammate at Brighton, Fabinho at Liverpool, and Rodri. Now, these are all defensive players, either ball winners or defensive players. They're not really playing as advanced up the pitch as Alexis Mac Allister, yet this is really, really low for your turnover rate. So what you get is a player who can play high up the pitch and not lose the ball. And one of the reasons for this is because he rarely tries to thread through balls in to players higher up the pitch. He actually mostly passes wide. So this little circle thing here, this shows you where he circulates the ball. It's usually left and right, so that the higher the colour here, the sort of greenish yellows, that's when he's putting the ball over a further distance. And often this kind of pass will be a long, deep pass to try and play in a winger or something like that. But mostly he gets the ball in advanced positions, plays a short pass, and then maybe move to try and link up the play. He helps link everything together and give you control. And that's the thing, he's not very progressive with his passing. So you can see here that he's not very progressive with his passing, like I just said. He's kind of good all round. But this is the issue, is that he doesn't really provide assists. So this season in the league, he has 0.06 assists per 90 all season long, which is very, very low. And in fact, he only has 2 assists total this season, which is kind of uniform across his career, and he's played 34 games. So again, for an advanced playmaker, it's not an awful lot. Now, his expected assists are higher at 0.13, which is obviously double or over double what his actual assists are. So maybe strikers are missing chances, something like that. But then you compare him to players who also play high up the pitch, like Kevin De Bruyne, who has 0.51, I remember that off the top of my head. Also Bruno Fernandes, 0.45, top of my head. And also Trent Alexander-Arnold, his new teammate, who's got 0.35 expected assists per 90. Those are much higher numbers, but they give a ball away a bit more than Alexis Mac Allister, who has 0.13, but keeps the ball. So this is what you get from him, a bit more control, but less creativity. But what he does give you is really high-level tactical intelligence. He's a good footballer, he's a great footballer. Always knows where to go, likes to play in the space between the lines. He'll try and find himself in these sorts of positions. Because if he fits into Liverpool, he's most likely going to go, we'll get rid of Curtis Jones and put him into here as part of the midfield 3. Now, if he gets advanced positions over here, he'll be good, but what he's good at is with his long passing. He's got a great range of passing, either to hit long balls out to someone advancing up the pitch, like the fullbacks perhaps, or maybe Mo Salah pushes up, something like that. But when a team pushes up and tries to attack Liverpool, what you'll often see, if they do leave space in behind, like a team pushing up like this, is that Mac Allister is great at spotting these passes over the top for someone to run into. So then you get someone like Diaz who come off the wing to come and attack this, or maybe Salah on the other side, and he'll be able to spot the ball, spot the pass, and get them in this way. He's got a great range of passing, and that's when he'll play long passes that are progressive, those long ones that go out wide. But mostly, when they get into these tight situations at the top of the pitch, he'll play short passes, he'll move the ball along and circulate it, so they can keep the ball moving, make sure they're in the right defensive rest positions to avoid being counter-attacked. So this all sounds good, right? He sounds like a wonderful player, and he is. But why am I saying it might not fix all their problems? Well, first of all, let's look where he's going to play. So we see, like we know, he plays in the middle of the pitch and likes to go in this sort of bit of the pitch here. That's what he does. And he's probably going to replace what Curtis Jones was doing towards the end of the season. And Curtis Jones was really important for Liverpool when he came back into the team this season towards the end of it, when he was winning the ball back really quickly. So the energy and just the drive to win the ball back is part of Jurgen Klopp's system. He needs that in him. Now, Mac Allister has stamina and he can work really hard to win the ball back, but he's just not the same kind of player as Curtis Jones, even though he might have more quality on the ball. And you see, Jones tends to go more wide as well. He's been more of a creative player. And that's sort of interesting because Jurgen Klopp is changing his system, particularly to try and get Trent Alexander-Arnold into more central spaces and do the whole box midfield thing that everyone is copying. This is what they were doing at the start of the season. And you had, this is Liverpool versus Newcastle, and you see the fullbacks are wide, Robertson higher than Alexander-Arnold because he's slightly deeper. Then you get almost this sort of trio over here, maybe a diamond over here or a box on the right-hand side. That's what you get with Roberto Firmino dropping in. But he's changed it over time, and this is them in May when they changed this kind of 3-box-3 shape in possession. You see, Konate and Van Dijk are basically doing the work of a back 3, Robertson pushing up, but not as high as he used to. He's sort of deeper because he's often in the 3. Then you get your box of Alexander-Arnold and Fabinho with Jones and Henderson either side, and they come inside like this to form your sort of box. And Mac Allister will go in this position here, but what he's going to give you is maybe a bit more control, but not quite as much energy and out of possession to win the ball back, but also not providing you the kind of cutting edge assist that you might want. All these graphs, by the way, are from an amazing article by Andy Jones on The Athletic, which you should subscribe to because it's very good. So what is it that might not work? Well, it's this new thing with Alexander-Arnold playing as part of this deep lying 2. So what they've done is Konate comes across, and then Van Dijk comes across here, and Robertson stays here, even though he really wants to go up like this. Then you get Fabinho and Alexander-Arnold in this bit here. Then Henderson will go here, Mac Allister will go up here, Gakpo might drop in. And what you get, if we push them higher up the pitch, in this sort of shape, is the box midfield. So you get this. Now that gives you a numerical advantage. You get 4v3, that's the 3 midfield you're playing against. Of course, then the striker might drop in, which leaves these guys free. And you'll get Alexander-Arnold, who can try and dictate from deep. Then Mac Allister can move into these positions that he really likes around here, and Gakpo can drop in too to give you more of a 5. That all sounds good as well. I like that too, that works. But the issue Liverpool have had is that they don't win the ball back quick enough high up the pitch. And it means that to have the width here, you need Salah to stay wide and Diaz to stay wide. And to score goals, of course, they need to come in here. But because you've got a box midfield with 4, maybe the striker can play further up the pitch, which means maybe Gakpo doesn't even play from the start, and you put in Darwin Nunez, then you start getting this really dangerous player in behind. And then, of course, Mac Allister, if he gets into these sorts of positions, he'll be able to thread balls in behind for Nunez, and he'll be able to do the same for Diaz. He's a great player, he can do this sort of stuff. And then link, keep the ball, so they can get in the rest defence positions, move up the pitch even further. Then they can start getting Alexander-Arnold on the ball, and he can start doing all the lovely things he can do, like switching balls to Diaz at the back post. But while that's all good and well, the same issues are going to occur, because what you get is Konate having to do this thing here. So we've seen in the average positions on the pitch that we think it should be a 3 because they've got a 2, and you want to cover these kind of spaces. You want to make sure you've got these bits of the pitch covered, which is what the back 3 does. But if you then move Robertson up, which he will do, because this guy will come inside, that then leaves this guy spare. So Van Dijk pulls out slightly farther to the left. Konate is then left here defending all of this space. So he's got a whole bunch of stuff to do with a big gap between him and Van Dijk. This happens a lot for Liverpool. Now Alexander-Arnold is playing as an inverted fullback, coming from here into here in this position. And of course, the more players Liverpool push forward and the tighter they are, the more the opposition will have to drop back. But these same spaces are going to appear because Robertson will go forward. He will do this. He won't play as a straight left centre back. They'll have this issue here. And Alexander-Arnold is not going to then drop it back in like John Stones does for Man City. He needs to get back into this position. But Konate will readily get pulled over here to deal with situations on this side of the pitch, which means Alexander-Arnold is then the guy that's to drop in. And if Fabinho's not got the pace to get back and Alexander-Arnold's not really got the pace to get back in, if there's a turnover, say you've got the ball, wherever it's gone, I found it. It's over here. Say it's over here, and he does try and thread a ball through to Diaz or Nunez. They might lose it, and then this team can counter-attack, and they can attack the space in behind, and that's where Liverpool are really conceding chances on the counter-attack. There's a real issue. They can target Alexander-Arnold and Konate particularly. That's something that's not going to change. If Konate is not available through injury, which is often, then you can play Joe Gomez. He's not as good at doing it, and then again, this isn't really going to work, and you can't play the box midfield in that sort of situation. However, conversely, to go back against my own point, if Mac Allister is here and he can sort of see that this situation is developing behind him, he'll be aware of it because he's really good tactically. He won't play that pass through, even though it'll give them a goal. He'll make sure he passes it sideways, get them back into their positions, so then these guys can cover, make sure you've got all your spacing right, so you're protected from the counter-attack. It's really, really important. And so they don't want to play the box midfield anyway. That's not really working because this is too risky, playing Alexander-Arnold in this position. What they can also do is play him on that left side. And if it is a straight up 4-3-3 and you're wanting to use the overlapping fullback, especially on the left hand side, take Nunez out, get Gakpo, you get your box, although in a diamond shape. This is what you get here with these guys here. It's very useful. But there's other players on the bench that they want to get on the pitch. So Harvey Elliott can play as a midfielder. He often likes to go in this right hand side space as well. Not as good at winning the ball back. Curtis Jones tends to be on the left, but likes to go out slightly wider. So he's really useful when you're playing this shape as well, because he can help protect the fullbacks pushing up. Mac Allister's not quite the same. But the real player missing out is Thiago Alcantara, who is a brilliant player. I mean, technically one of the best in the entire league, if not the world still, but he's always injured. Only started 14 games last season. Mac Allister's 34, right? So you get lots more guaranteed games out of Mac Allister, so that makes sense. But whereas Mac Allister likes to play up here, next to a striker maybe, with players all around him, Thiago likes to sit kind of deeper here. So he's more of an advanced playmaker, he's more of a deeper, and it gives you different options in your team. So what you get from Mac Allister is a player who can do like 10, 8, 6. Thiago's mostly a 6 or an 8. Or maybe, I mean, he can sort of do a 10 as well, you know, but he does it from a deeper position. So you've got lots of options now. It's a really good amount of money spent on Mac Allister, but whereas Mac Allister will try and circulate the ball around these positions here, Thiago will not. He will try and thread the ball through and he'll get you chances. So you can kind of pick and choose whether you want to try and create in that final third. Not to say that Mac Allister couldn't do that, but it's not what he's done so far. Or you try and move him into a deeper position where he's not quite as useful at doing the sort of things he does. But we know he's amazing because he's won the World Cup. He was a really pivotal, important player for how Argentina played in that World Cup. Didn't start the first game. This is what they did, more of a 4-4-2 thing. It wasn't very good, and you'll notice Mac Allister wasn't there. And then you cut to this sort of thing, where you had Messi, who is playing as the false 9, dropping in around midfield. So when they went forward, they had Messi, Mac Allister would be in these sort of half spaces, almost like he was on a string to Messi. So wherever Messi went, he would kind of do the opposite, almost like a pendulum, he'd go the opposite side. So if Messi dropped deep, he'd go forward, make sure there's a ball to receive higher up the pitch. If Messi was going farther forward, he'd be slightly deeper, just kind of the opposite of where he was going. And of course, Alvarez would come inside like this, and you get width from your Tagliafico, and De Paul is trying to protect Messi because he doesn't do any defensive work. Then you're looking at this. Just like looking at the old Argentina team, wasn't it fun? You get your width from this guy's here. And this is the sort of thing you might see, is you're going to get a player like Luis Diaz or Jota's going to come inside here to be able to link really well with Mac Allister. You're going to get your box midfield from a midfielder, so it'll be Alexander-Arnold pushing in here like this, creating the same sort of shapes that you want. Then you're going to get Messi, is Mo Salah. Then you get other players going to support, maybe Henderson or Elliott on this side here. It does all make sense and is going to make use of all of Mac Allister's skill set. And he's a very good player, as we've said. But Liverpool's transition to this new system is not guaranteed to work. Klopp tried to change it last season, brought in players like Fabio Carvalho and Elliott. It didn't work, because what really works for him is the high press energy, really busy midfield. The good thing that you can possibly take away from it, that why it would work, is that he profiles very similarly to players like Ilkay Gundogan and, well, actually Gini Wijnaldum in the 1920 season when he was essential to Liverpool. So you what you get is a player who's going to maybe replace a lot of things that Wijnaldum does or did. And you also got a player who's played against Liverpool and been really good against him. Klopp's seen him play, he likes him, he was behind this transfer. So it might be an amazing move. It might fix many of their problems and is a really good deal for the money they paid for him. He's not going to get you loads of assists, he's not going to get you loads of goals, but he is a good footballer, and sometimes that's kind of all you need to get better as a team.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.